आज हमारा जो ये सेशन है, हमारे साथ एक बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट जुड़े हैं, प्रोफेसर राजाराम शर्मा जी, जो कि शिक्षा जगत का एक बहुत ही जाना-माना नाम है। इन्हें किसी इंट्रोडक्शन की ज़रूरत नहीं है, लेकिन क्योंकि हमारे साथ बहुत अलग-अलग क्षेत्रों से लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, जो कि शिक्षा जगत से ऐसे भी लोग हैं जो शिक्षा जगत से ज़्यादा जानकार नहीं हैं, तो मैं उन्हें बता दूँ कि सर, आप फॉर्मर डायरेक्टर हैं, फॉर्मर जॉइंट डायरेक्टर हैं सेंट्रल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ एजुकेशन टेक्नोलॉजी एनसीईआरटी के। स्कूल एजुकेशन में नेशनल पॉलिसी ऑफ आईसीटी के इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में भी आप क्लोजली एसोसिएटेड रहे हैं और साथ ही साथ आपने और भी बहुत सारे क्षेत्रों में अपने बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है। सर, आपने अपना करियर की शुरुआत एक स्कूल टीचर की तरह की थी और फिर उसके बाद आप एक टीचर ट्रेनर, एक रिसर्चर और एक साइंटिस्ट की तरह भी आपने काम किया है। पिछले 31 साल आपने अपने एजुकेशन को दिए हैं। आपने एक्टिव मेथड्स ऑफ लर्निंग को डेवलप किया है, डिजाइनिंग एंड ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कोर्सेज you have done. You have also contributed in developing curricular materials for children and teachers with special focus on active learning strategies. Sir, you have also worked and given your contribution in making children independent learners. सर, आपके बारे में जितना मैं कहना चाहूँ वो कम रहेगा क्योंकि बहुत सारे फील्ड्स में आपने काम किया है। तो सबसे पहले तो मैं आपका हार्दिक स्वागत करती हूँ। तो सर, किस चीज़ ने आपको इंस्पायर किया अपने लाइफ के इतने साल जो आपने दिए, अपनी पूरी लाइफ एक तरह से एजुकेशन को दी है, तो व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड यू फॉर दिस कंट्रीब्यूशन सर?
You see, there are, I wouldn't say that I have been an inspired person that, that was the only thing that I wanted to do in life and so on. There are choices that people make as they go along, as they see the world. They say, okay, this is something that I would like to do. This is not something that I would like to do. Somewhere around the time when I was in my degree classes, in my BSc classes, I started working with school children. I used to do small programs in astronomy, show them the night sky, show them various things about the moon and the sun and so on. And when I started doing that, I sort of guessed that I could perhaps be better equipped to be a communicator. And a teacher is the person who has to have a very strong hold over an ability to communicate. And also my educational career took me through an MSc Ed program. This was a master's degree in science education from one of the colleges of the NCERT, where we were formally taught how to be a teacher. So sort of combining the insights that I got as a professional teacher and the fact that I had worked with children in trying to communicate science sort of put me on a path which took me into education, let's say. But then the best part about this was my first 5 years as a teacher. I joined a primary school. This was a school in Mysore, and I started working with class 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in a way, if you ask me who taught you how to be a teacher, I would say those children who are 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, they were the ones who taught me how to be a teacher. Now, the most important part I believe that they taught me was to slow down. That there is somebody who's trying to receive you, somebody who's trying to follow what you're saying, and therefore you don't need to be in a hurry to show off what is it that you know, but rather to try and see if you can reach out to that person and do what that person wants. So these small children, I believe, are the people who inspired me into this field. And as we went along, and I was also a teacher educator, so I had a chance to look at, when B.Ed students go to classrooms, start teaching, I started looking at what kind of struggles they have, what kind of problems they face, how they learn to become a teacher. How they, because if you're looking only at yourself, you believe, that's the only way to do it. But when you see another 50 people struggling to become a teacher, struggling to write on the board, struggling to remember the content in the class, struggling to ask questions, or even maintain some kind of a order in the class, that is where you start asking yourself. And it was a very good opportunity that I could sit at the back of the class and observe somebody trying to teach, somebody trying to get a hang of teaching. So these two experiences, which lasted for about a decade, helped me when I joined NCERT in the year 96. And in NCERT, the institute to which I was attached, the Central Institute of Education Technology, this institute has been in the forefront of radio and television. to begin with.
जी.
In fact, many of us belonging to our generation, belonging to a slightly older generation, younger generation, have all grown up with watching school television programs on Doordarshan. The most famous of them being that Ek Anek or Ekta, Ek Chidiya, Anek
जी, जी,
Chidiya
sir.
song.
We
Right?
used to hear
This
that song. Yes. Yeah.
this was a product which came out of that institute. So in a way, almost any Hindi program that you would see, which was broadcast on
Yes, sir.
Doordarshan, which was connected with children with school television,
Mhm.
would come out of this institute. And so therefore, I got introduced to television. I got introduced to radio. I got introduced to how people package material and look at content in terms of the media part of it. Also along the way, when I started my career, computers were the just not there. There were just about a few computers here and there. In fact, when I joined CIET, in CIET there were exactly 2 PCs, and both of them were with some big bosses, and therefore we would never get a chance to even hold it. Internet was not heard of. Nobody knew what is
Yes,
what is internet at that point in time. So this gave us an opportunity to jump onto a completely different technology, start looking at things from a different perspective. And this culminated by the time I finished with NCERT, which was in the year 2010 to 2016, when I was the joint director of CIET. We managed to create 2 big platforms. One is called ePathshala, and most students who are using the NCERT textbooks would be aware of this, that every single NCERT textbook is now available on a mobile. So the technology associated with that, the working of how to convert a textbook into a way in which it can be rendered on a mobile phone, how it can be made available to every single child across the country. These are the kinds of things that I got an opportunity to play with. So it isn't as if we say that I want to go to the moon. You can't decide that. You are pushed into a place and you make the most of it. You try to learn as much as you can, and how you benefit from that is what makes you.
Exactly, sir. Whatever you said is very true. And as you said, the children really inspire you to do something, to extend your limits and to go beyond. When there is a need, obviously there is a attention. Yes. And I would also like to know, sir, how has your journey been? Like, as you said, you have gone through so many stages. You started as a school teacher, and then you ended as a joint director in CIET. So, how has the journey been actually?
Well, like every other person, I have struggled. It's not as if it's been, there weren't anything called expressways and super highways available, and you could not go at 100 kilometers per hour. At every step, you have to learn new things. Every step, you encounter other people. You have to learn to accommodate them. You have to learn to live with them, and learn to do things together. See, the most important part of a professional life, as distinct from a school life, is that as a child you have always been taught, parents have been trying to tell you that you should succeed, and you are not supposed to be looking at who others around you are, what they are doing, and so on. You concentrate on what you're doing. Now once you get into professional life, typically, like for instance in the television studios that we work with, we used to have something like some 25-30 people associated, all of them standing behind the camera. There was only one anchor, one person, one actor in front of the camera, but there were some 25-30 people behind. And every one of these people was extremely competent in that small area that they were specialists in. So the person who did the lighting for that studio knew exactly what lighting is, and nobody else knew that. Now, so there you start learning that it is not the paper qualifications of a person. Now, many of these people were only 10 standard pass or 12 standard pass, or maybe had a diploma in something, right? And we were all supposed to be PhDs in, but that doesn't mean anything. You don't know anything when you stand in front of them. The cameraman will immediately tell you that this lighting is wrong, that this is not the way it should be done. Or the person who is hearing you speak will tell you, no, look, you are not doing this correctly. This is how it should be done. So you'll get to live with people, learn with people, and that is the one which teaches you the most. So therefore, this journey, I believe I owe it to all those people who have helped me be what I am. But at the same time, there have been enormous numbers of ups and downs. And this should be taken in our stride everywhere, every profession. looked at from the outside will look all glorious. But on a
Yes,
day-to-day basis, everybody has to struggle. Everybody has to
yes,
learn new things. Everybody has to do things differently, and should be able to, impress, should be able to inspire, should be able to take that entire team together with us. Now, typically, this is relevant in schools, classrooms also. Now, I might be the one teacher who goes into my subject, into my class, and do whatever I want. But that child is listening to maybe 5, 6 different people. That child is looking at each one of us. So together we are responsible for bringing that child up. And that is something that I learned in this journey.
Very true, sir, and very inspiring. As you said, everybody has everything has its own struggles behind it. So, but just maintaining your pace, just keeping the patience and going on learning, keeping learning is the only thing that we must concentrate on, I guess. And so, we have known about your professional life, we have known how your journey has been, but what are you as a person? Who are you as a person? We would like to know that.
Okay. I don't believe I'm, endowed differently. I have never considered myself as some super intelligent fellow or whatever. I also took, for instance, around my 12th standard, went and tried the IIT entrance, failed in that.
Okay.
I have attended a lot of interviews and not succeeded there. All right, but each time I have had a chance to ask myself, what is it that you did or did not do which resulted in success or failure at that point in time. So
Yes, sir.
the ability to reflect, the ability to ask yourself very deep, serious questions, the ability to be very critical of yourself will over a period of time help you to sort of face the world. When somebody else criticizes you, if you have not cultivated the habit of being critical yourself, then you will get hurt. So
Yes,
if
that's
at
true.
all, there is one thing that will characterize me, it will be that I am my worst critic. I don't need another
Okay.
person. Even now, while I am speaking to you, I am actually watching every word I am saying. So the moment I make a word which is inappropriate, I would go ahead and change it. So I'm listening to myself. I'm being critical about that. So this is one aspect that I believe I have cultivated and which has helped me. Of course, it has got me into trouble because I have believed that other people will also think like this, and therefore have been critical about other people and they have not liked it. So they, you get in trouble with this, and
So no,
particularly when
no.
they are.
I would be more than happy if you will tell me where I'm going wrong, and if I'm going wrong somewhere, please correct me then.
Yeah,
And
we'll do that.
that is really very inspiring, sir. Really inspiring.
There's
And
one other
I
aspect of this which
believe.
I believe I need to mention, which is about all of us who have been teachers, all of us who have gone through the B.Ed kind of course have heard of something called Bloom's taxonomy, and we have heard of something called knowledge, understanding, application, and all that. Now, in the application stage of Bloom's taxonomy, there are three words which when I was a student I hadn't learned. And as I grew, I could apply that not only to the topics, the subjects, lesson planning, and so on, but to my life itself. And these are words like analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Now, everything that you do, you should be able to break this apart. It's like, you take a toy, you want to find out how it works the way it works, and you sort of break it apart
Yes,
and figure out what is that
yes,
wheel inside, what is that nut inside, bolt inside. So even the thought process, even the way you, think about something, if you are able to analyze it, and then you are able to put them all together in a different way. So each of the questions that you are asking me, I'm actually thinking through that and saying, okay, how is this relevant to the person who's listening to me? How is this relevant to the person who would perhaps be in a similar position somewhere else? How is this relevant to a person who has a child at home and is aspiring, is dreaming, saying that what shall I do with this child when this child goes to second standard, fourth standard, 10th standard, and so on. So synthesis and then evaluation of it. Now you can go ahead and put things back, but it has to work. So you need to be able to judge whether things work or don't work. So analysis, synthesis, and evaluation is a kind of a taviz, which one of my teachers, Professor A.K. Sharma, who was the director of NCRT, he was also my teacher in my MSc classes. So he sort of gave me this as a Taviz, and this is something that I hold on very dearly.
Okay.
And every time I
Mhm.
encounter something new that I have to learn, something new that I have to communicate, I use these tools. If I can analyze it, if I can find that every piece of material there should be there, first of all, and then when put together, they work together as a system and it works correctly, only then you are in a position to say that yes, what you have done is correct. So I believe these are the two things which sort of characterize me, distinguish me.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, as you have characterized these three: analysis, synthesis, and evaluation over here, and I guess that these are the actually these are the things which are actually missing from the education, because we set some boundaries, we set some limits for the students in the school sometimes, and we actually don't let them analyze, do the synthesis and the evaluation at that time. So taking forward our topic over this in this direction only, I would like to ask you, sir, as today the education has become a trend, moreover than moreover than being a education itself. It has become a trend. It has become a fashion that हाँ मेरा बच्चा यहाँ पढ़ रहा है, मेरा बच्चा कौन से स्कूल में पढ़ा है. That matters more than what he is learning over there. ठीक है, मेरा बच्चा more in the metro city, developed city. जितना ज़्यादा developed area होगा वहाँ पर उतना ज़्यादा how the status is the thing is there, I guess. So, according to you, sir, why we are sending our children to the school? School क्यों भेजते हैं हम अपने बच्चों को? What is the main purpose of sending them over there?
इसमें हम बारी बारी से तीन अलग अलग वर्ड्स यूज करते हैं इस तरह के डिस्कशन में. वन इज एजुकेशन, वन इज स्कूलिंग, एंड वन इज टीचिंग एंड लर्निंग. Let's try and see if we can attach separate meanings to each one of these. Now, if you ask me, are you an educated person? I would say I'm trying to be one. Education is not something that gets completed at any point in time. Perhaps when I am on my deathbed and I'm going to be switched off in the next 5 minutes, I can ask myself that did I benefit from all those learning that I was exposed to, and have I reached a point where I can call myself educated? And even at that point, I will be able to say there are a few more things that I need to learn. So education is a journey. Education will never be completed.
Yes, sir.
How is schooling different from this? Now, the schooling is a means to, in fact, if you get to the dictionary meaning of schooling itself, it is trying to channelize you. It's trying to give you the tools. It is trying to teach you the alphabet of how to learn. Yes. All right. So perhaps schooling will help you become educated. But education is not what is done in schools. Let's be very clear about that. Education is teaching you the tools for, schooling is something that will teach you the tools for education. It will give you the language, it will give you the mathematical abilities, it will give you the analytical abilities, it will teach you how to think, how to organize your thoughts and so on, how to communicate. And all of these put together will help you become educated. So someone who has completed school, someone who has 4 degrees, someone who's, a PhD, does not necessarily classify as a person who is educated. So we need to be very clear about this particular word. So now let's ask ourselves this question: why do we send our children to school? And here, let's look at ourselves as parents, people who want to send our children to the best possible school that is available around. And we make choices. We say, okay, we don't want our children to go to this government school. We want them to go to this private school. We want them to wear this kind of uniform. We want them to do these kinds of things and so on. Now, of course, affordability will make a difference. People who can afford better things will perhaps, believe that that is the kind of education that I want my child to get. So education is something that's not going to come out of schools. Education might be possible if that person decides to become educated as a consequence of the tools that one learns in school. Now,
that's true, sir.
Schooling itself, as I mentioned, if it is a training in thinking, a training in learning, then that is what must be the benchmark, that must be the target of why we send our children to school. So at each stage, if we are able to ask as parents, is my child becoming more capable of thinking? Is my child becoming more capable of being on his or her own? For instance, if you say that my child is about 10 years old, is this child a competent 10-year-old? That child will not be an 18-year-old. But if the child is behaving like a 5-year-old, there is a problem.
Yes, sir.
So we have some general notions of, how should a 14-year-old be capable of thinking? How much should a 16-year-old be capable of doing? And that is why the Constitution, for instance, say that you cannot marry before you're 18, you cannot vote before you're 18, and so on. So at 18, if I have finished my 12th grade, or if I have not finished my 12th grade, I am still eligible to vote. What does that mean? It means that I am in a position to apply my mind, think through the problems of society, ask myself whether this person who is asking for my vote is a good representative of mine. Have I become a competent citizen of the country? All right. So that's the way I would look at schooling itself. Now, if I am speaking about teachers here, teachers have a slightly different role. They are not parents. They do not have the opportunity of looking at that child for 24 hours. They have a very limited period of engagement with individual children. But they are experts. Experts at what? Experts at enabling somebody to learn. Experts at teaching how to learn. So, like you would go to a tailor to get your clothes stitched, like you would go to a cobbler to get your shoes repaired, you will not go to someone else to do that. Because that person not only has the tools with him, that person also knows what to do. So you're willing to risk a very good piece of cloths to a tailor and say, go ahead and cut this. Now, with a kind of a guarantee that at the end of it, he's going to produce some material, which is something that you would like to wear and you would be proud of wearing. Very similarly, a teacher is somebody to whom a parent says, I trust this person. I am willing to hand over my 2.5-year-old child to this fellow. And I'm sure that this fellow is going to take this child across, another 15 years. And at the end of it, is going to deliver to me a child who is a competent adult. Now, if we start looking at schooling in this manner, there is no social studies here, there is no science here, there is no maths here, there is no English here, there is no Hindi here. We are not talking literacy. Anybody who, whether they go to school or they don't go to school, will already have learned speaking. They will, if their ears are okay, they will have also learned listening. If their feet are okay, they will start walking, they will start running also, they will slowly learn cycling also, they will start going around life. So one doesn't have to go to school for these things, but one goes to school for learning about, oneself, learning about the people around, and learning about larger systems like the nation, the world, organizations, and so on. So the ability to cope with that large amount of information, to make sense of it, to be able to interact with it, to be able to ask very searching questions about it. This is what I believe should be taught to children in schools. So in that sense of it, science, maths, English, Hindi, all these are vehicles for learning. They are not the content of learning. It does not matter whether you have learned sound or light or electricity, or whether you have learned about Gandhiji or Nehru or somebody else. It is what you can do with that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So therefore, I believe schooling should be considered as that stage of life where children who are 2.5, 3-year-old are entered into a school where they can't even perhaps walk, they can't even wear their own dress, they can't even do lots of things. We slowly groom them into something. And by the time they come out of 12th standard, we say, you make a choice of a career, you go to this place and start working, you start doing these things, you start, choosing these courses and so on. So we believe they have become competent at the end of it to be able to take such decisions.
Yes, sir.
So I would look at it that way.
So that's very true. And as you said, that, for education, schooling is must. But when a person has gone to school, it doesn't mean that he has become educated.